Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year. We begin with the national lead today. It is one of the most controversial pieces of a controversial law. Starting today, nonprofit institutions with religious affiliates, like schools and hospitals, have to start providing employees contraception coverage through their insurance plans. It's part of the Affordable Care Act, that sweeping law taking effect today. Now, these groups can get out of paying for birth control directly by having a third-party insurance company cover it at no cost to them, but they have to sign a form to authorize it. And that just won't fly with, among others, a group of nuns from Colorado. The Little Sisters of the Poor Home for the Aged say that signing the form would still violate their beliefs opposing birth control. And last night, before personally pressing the button in Times Square that dropped the ball and ushered in the era of Obamacare, Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor granted the Little Sisters a stay. The White House has until Friday to respond to the Supreme Court. President Obama has seen a number of roadblocks to his signature legislation. The rollout for healthcare.gov was infamously rocky, but the administration says more than 2 million Americans have signed up for healthcare coverage under Obamacare so far. No word on how many have paid their premiums. And they say nearly 4 million took steps to sign up for Medicaid in October and November. Medicaid, of course, was expanded under Obamacare. But could this temporary order on birth control become a permanent obstacle for the law, just as it is getting off the ground today? And with the clock ticking, how will the White House respond? And joining me now is Daniel Blomberg, legal counsel for the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty. They filed the suit on behalf of the Little Sisters of the Poor. Daniel, thanks for being here. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So what did the nuns have to say when you got word of the injunction last night?
They were relieved, very relieved, because without that injunction, without Justice Sotomayor issuing an injunction, they would be facing fines today that add up to millions of dollars a year.
Were you surprised that it was Sotomayor that, I mean, I know she's the one in that district, but were you surprised that she issued the stay?
No, because, you know, there have been about 20 different courts that have looked at this issue now, and about 90% of them are ruling for the religious ministries. They're saying, please don't make us do this. Please don't make us participate in providing drugs that violate our religious beliefs.
And the broad argument here from the Obama administration is, look, we carved out an accommodation for religious organizations. Religious organizations like churches don't have to do this, but organizations that are religiously affiliated, like a nonprofit, they don't have to take out health insurance that provides for things that you oppose on religious grounds, such as contraception, but the insurance company does. So you're accommodated. Why is that not enough?
Because what the Little Sisters are saying here is that you are forcing us to participate. You're forcing us to sign a permission slip that provides these drugs. You know, we have two ways of complying with the Affordable Care Act. One is that we provide them directly ourselves. We put them in our insurance plan, we just do it and we pay for it. The other is we sign this form that says, I can't provide these drugs. Now you, my insurance provider, you do it. Well, the Little Sisters say that's a problem because not only are we still participating and providing, we're forcing someone else to do something we think is wrong.
The White House reacted to the injunction. Let me read it and get your response. We defer to the Department of Justice on litigation matters, but remain confident that our final rules strike the balance of providing women with free contraceptive coverage while preventing nonprofit religious organizations with religious objections to contraceptive coverage from having to contract, arrange, pay, or refer for such coverage. They think they have a solid case here. Why do you think you're going to win?
Well, like I said, 90% of the courts to look at this are saying, no, they haven't struck the right balance. They've struck a balance that violates the law. Listen, this case isn't about contraception. If the government wanted to provide contraception, just directly give out free contraception to all the employees in the country, the Little Sisters wouldn't be in court today. They're in court because the government is saying, you have to provide the contraception. You have to participate in providing this. You have to sign that permission slip. They said, please, don't make us do that. That violates our religious beliefs. Please don't make us do it.
The Centers for Disease Control did a poll not long ago, and their conclusion was basically all women who have sex, so not people who don't have it because of religious objections, but all women who have sex use birth control or have used birth control at one point or another. The argument from the Obama administration is this is a fundamental healthcare need of women who might get pregnant. And while there is a religious objection, of course, if virtually 100% of women who would be subject to this, to taking contraception, use contraception, why would an organization not even allow an insurance company to provide it?
It's not that they're not allowing it. They're just saying, please don't make us trigger this. Please don't make us participate.
You think that by signing the form, you're entering into, you're signing off on it, is the idea.
That's exactly what the form says. The form says this is, when you sign this, this becomes part of your plan, and your insurer who receives this form is legally required to provide the drugs. It's a permission slip, and they can't do that.
This isn't the only group you represent, obviously. We've heard a lot about the Hobby Lobby, a religious organization, East Texas Baptist University, Colorado Christian University. What do you say to people who say the employees of these organizations, who might be very, very religious but also use birth control, and as studies show, most people use birth control, are being punished here?
Well, for one thing, until last night, until the clock struck midnight, we never had a situation where the federal government required religious ministries to provide contraceptives to employees. So no one had that expectation before. And when people come to work with the Little Sisters of the Poor or with the Eternal Word television network or some, Christian organizations, Catholic organizations that are very obvious in their religious identity, I mean, the Little Sisters have been taking care of poor elderly people for 175 years, and they wear habits. Everyone knows who they are and what they do. When you come and serve the poor with them, you understand there are certain things they can't do. They will serve the poor as if that poor person was Jesus Christ. That's what they vow to do. They're going to do that until that person dies. They'll hold their hand as they cross from this life to the next life. They're not going to do things that violate their faith. And so when you come to serve with them, you understand that.
If you lose on Friday when the argument comes forward from the Obama administration, or ultimately if this goes before the Supreme Court and the court rules against you, will the Little Sisters abide by the decision that becomes the law of the land?
Well, what happens if all the courts rule against them, if this tide that we have of 90% of courts who look at this issue are protecting religious liberty, if that changes and the Little Sisters then they have a choice to make. They can either continue to provide ministry in the way they always have, but if they do that, then they have to pay fines, millions of dollars in fines every year. For one of our plaintiffs, they have a $6 million operating budget to serve the 60 folks that are in their home every year. $2 million of that would be taken away to give to the IRS. And so at the end of the day, the American people are looking at a situation. They're looking at a situation where the government is going to be taking money away from poor elderly people who are dying and giving it to the IRS. That sounds like a bad situation for all of us.
So they'll pay the fine. They're not going to abide by this.
That's a decision they'll have to make, and it's going to be an extremely difficult one.
Daniel Blomberg, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.